Hello, this year I made it my resolution to see 100 films that I haven't seen before. I'm going to review all of them in 15 seconds each to try and save time. Here's the first 25, including a couple that I'd already seen, but I wanted to include them anyway because I watched them, and why not? If the idea of an outsider art mix of stop motion and 90s CGI appeals to you, then you might like We Are the Strange. It certainly lives up to its title. If not, there's nothing here for you, give it a miss. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of my favourite films. It's both a love letter to the golden age of animation and a surprisingly adult detective story. The filmmaker's attention to detail really shows through, having made a lot of effort to make sure the actors have the correct eye line with their cartoon co-stars and that the lighting on the cartoons really grounds them in the scene and make you believe they're there. Meanwhile, Cool World is Roger Rabbit if Roger Rabbit looked like a load of rubbish. It's got a story about humans going to Cartoon World and they can't have sex with cartoons because it's against the law for some reason. It stars a baby Brad Pitt. I mean, if that's not reason enough to watch it, then I don't. Tere Bin Laden is a Bollywood film in which a guy enlists a group of his friends in a con to try and sell a fake Bin Laden video to a news station. It's like if Nickelodeon did a parody of the Iraq War complete with low budget and wacky editing. There's some really funny moments, but overall I wasn't blown away. In the near future, an evil AI virus has taken over Second Life, and it's up to a party crasher, a 12-year-old and his family to save the world by being better at video games. If you like action-packed anime and cousin loving, then Summer Wars is the film for you. House is a 1986 American horror comedy film that doesn't do a great job of being either. It has really weird tonal shifts and a strange abrupt ending that seems too schmaltzy for a horror film. Fun monster effects though. I can't really take superhero films seriously, and I liked Deadpool because I didn't expect me to. Deadpool isn't that funny, the lol random humour and pop culture references fell flat for me, but the action and general lighter tone made for a fun watch. I did like some of the self-referential humour, the inclusion of Z-list X-Men, and that Ryan Reynolds hangs dong in this film. If you think black and white films are slow-paced and boring, then you're wrong. Citizen Kane is a compelling, beautiful film about the life of an idealistic young man whose immense privilege can buy him anything but cost him his reputation and his principles. If you like film, then you owe it to yourself to watch it. There's a reason they call it the Citizen Kane of movies. Monsters University is a prequel where the heroes from Monsters Inc. learn to do the job that was deemed obsolete and immoral in the first film. It was a Pixar prequel. You know, they're meh. They're okay. What We Do in the Shadows. Not much to say about it. It was a good film. I'd recommend it. It's a mockumentary about 4 vampires sharing a flat. It's got one of the Flight of the Conchord guys in it, and writing, saying this thing. Good film, watch it. Fargo is about $1 million scam and the police detective who investigates when the plan leads to murder. What I like in this film is nothing is ambiguous. Marge Gunderson isn't some hotshot wonderkind with special intuition. She just follows obvious leads to their obvious conclusion. It's a down-to-earth crime drama that's worth watching. The Dictator was Sacha Baron Cohen's usual Borat shtick, but removed from the context of a hidden camera prank exposing the prejudices of the general public. It just came across as lazy, edgy comedy. Political satire felt ham-fisted, and you'd expect better of both from a typical episode of Family Guy. If you're in the mood to put on a film that you're not really going to pay attention to while you drink beer with friends, then you could do a lot worse than the killer clowns from outer space. It's got big rubber clowns doing cartoony shit. It's an entertaining, schlocky, crappy B-movie. Just stick it on Netflix and forget. Muppets Most Wanted opens with a really crappy song and dance about how sequels are never as good, and that's not something you want to put in someone's head unless you're confident that you've got a good film in your hands, and this one wasn't. When I first saw the cover for Wolf Children, I burst out laughing, and when I was told it was a well-regarded film that tugs at the heartstrings, I laughed even more, but having seen it, I'm not sure what to say. I never really got over the ridiculous premise of a single mother raising 2 werewolves, but it certainly explored that premise well. Whether it was a good film, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't say it was one to avoid either. I was born with 7 clits. That's the opening line of Bad Biology, and it sets the tone well for this trashy B-movie horror soft porn film. The latter label it might have avoided if it didn't have an unnecessarily long 6-minute scene of various women being attacked by a disembodied penis. Anomalisa is about a man who's made a name for himself in the field of customer services, but has come to view everyone around him as the same homogenous person he's unable to make a connection with. It's at once sad, funny, and creepy, and I'd recommend it to anyone who's into adult animation. Hell and Back is a crude comedy stop-motion film about some guys who doom their friend to an eternity in hell and then try and rescue him. It was pretty meh. When everyone in his small town accuses American Harry Potter of having murdered his girlfriend, he grows horns that make people admit their darkest desires to him. I feel like Horns was only a few rewrites away from having been a good film, but after a couple of good scenes it goes off the rails. Concept wasted. The plot of Suspiria is gruel thin, yet still manages to leave plot threads dangling, but for what it lacks in plot it more than makes up for in style and atmosphere. It's a great dreamlike Italian horror film and I'd recommend it. Got great use of colour and stuff. John Dies at the End is a supernatural adventure film that had me intrigued at first, but after a while it seemed obvious everything was being made up as it went along. It lost me completely when it got to a scene where it was all shot against a green screen and they were trying to use close-ups to hide it. May is one of those horror films that makes you empathise with the monster of the film. It follows the titular character who is teased as a child and has no friends, attempting to get close to the people in her adult life only to be taken advantage of. The horror builds up so slowly that it doesn't really feel like a horror film at the beginning, but the payoff is worth the wait. At only an hour and a half, The Warriors felt like it managed to drag on a lot longer than that. I would have been more interested seeing a film where Cyrus wasn't shot at the beginning. The whole plot seemed to happen for no reason. I don't know what's going on.
We are
Story
images
is
Jesus.
Rub
Dreams.
your clitoris
Paint
against
the
the
mountain.
mountain.
Photographs.
Consumerism is bad.
I don't
If
get
there's
it.
Some message. I don't
Probably
get
something
it.
about
Drink for animals. Fascism or
Don't
society
get it.
or something.
Don't get it.
I knew Fritz the Cat was well known for being the first animated film to get an X rating, so I didn't expect much from this. But it has more to it than we've come to expect from crude animated comedy of today, even if it is just a fairly shallow indictment of 60s society.